Welcome back to another episode of Ball of Passion. It's great to see everyone, and it's great to welcome back George, who's been missing in action. He's been surrounded in some sort of wilderness. I don't know where he's been, but it's good to see you, buddy. And we've got Z as well. Chris will be joining us soon. CK will be joining us. But how you been, George? You good?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I was able to trim a little bit, join the land of the living, got some running water. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about stuff because I hear that we've kind of reached the Arsenal apocalypse at least 3 times. So
yeah, I'm talking every day. So don't worry. It is every day. There's a new meltdown. It seems, but see, people are here for you, mate. They're waiting. They're waiting in the corridors just to wait for you. They're streaming in for you, mate. But it's good to have you back. How you doing, Z?
Yeah, I'm fine, honestly. Happy to be back. I think I missed last week, but yeah, I'm looking forward to discuss everything. I think we've gone through massive toxicity in the past week. I think I've been a huge part of it too, so I apologize. But it's something that I want to discuss with everyone, and with a clear mind, have some perspective, because I think we all need perspective in this precious time, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be joined by CK in a bit, but before we get into things, we're going to be releasing the podcast for this week on the YouTube straight after this video airs. It's already loaded up into YouTube, so it's about all the fan content that we have presented, and we're joined by the Wave AFC and Nom as well. So just check that out once this is done. But let's get into it, lads, before Chris gets here. Where do you want to start? Should we start with Ben White? I think we start with Ben White, shortly.
Yeah, let's go for it.
So thoughts, the announcement thoughts, how it's been drawn out thoughts, the player thoughts. Just what are we thinking?
Well, so look, in terms of how drawn out it's been, I think Arsenal are notorious for late announcements, and I think we as fans get riled up over this, and we prove time and time again that announcement-wise, we're horrible. Like, even when we know that the deal is secured, it's done. So, I mean, look, I didn't expect the announcement to be this late, but in all honesty, the lad needed, vacation from the Euros. So I felt within the week I was gone, I expected an announcement. Did I want it to be Friday? No. But does it make it any different from a preseason perspective or from a fitness or expedited acclimatization? Heck no. I mean, it's the same as him coming on Tuesday. It was Wednesday, it's Thursday. But as fans, we definitely want the news now and as quick as we can, because we're seeing other people, or we're perceiving other people to be doing more. But I don't know, maybe it's because I've been away, but I haven't seen too many other deals. I would think Ben White is actually one of the marker in the market
deals,
in terms of a precedent. Like, that's a $50 million or pound dollar.
Don't be ESPN out here, Joe.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, that's a huge deal, right? Like,
oh god. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge deal. It's going to set the market in terms of precedent, right? Not just in terms of defenders, not just in terms of, English talent, but it's going to set the market in terms of, how do these big deals get perceived and how do they get negotiated in the market? So I'm excited for it. I think we've talked about how excited we are as a player. I think he's going to solve a lot of issues in the back, in terms of allowing our team to step up another 10 or 15 yards, because we've talked about this on the pod, but really quickly, when you have technical security in the back, you don't have to ask your midfield and strikers to drop deep, and you don't have to ask your team to kind of sacrifice the middle third like we've been doing. And so what he allows us to do is, with his ball carrying ability, along with Gabriel now, is we can become a halfway line defending team. That we could not do last season. And, I think people look at, David Luiz, who is, a great progressor of the ball. But what Ben White carries that's a lot different is ball carrying ability. Truly amazing incision in the middle third. And that's vital. That allows us to receive higher up the pitch. And I think you're going to see a lot of those output inefficiencies from the strikers in the front line fixed, because when they're now operating in 10 or 15 yards up the pitch, those 1v1 opportunities are not going to happen in the middle third. They're happening in the final third, and they're going to happen a lot quicker for them. So, yeah, I'm ecstatic about the signing. 24 years old. Am I right? Or 23?
I think turning 24 this year, I think.
Turning 24. Prime age, English talent, who, again, people are annoyed with the fee, but I will remind everyone, Nathan Ake last year went for £42 million plus add-ons, and lacked, and he was a homegrown status player. So when you're looking at precedent, adding another, £8 million, which I doubt people, we didn't do it in one fell swoop.
No, we haven't. No. It was actually confirmed that, we're actually paying £30 million up front, not even the 35. So look, it seems like a good deal financially. I feel like, we have paid the English tax for him, but look, it seems to be a brilliant investment. It's a shame that, all the other news has clouded the announcement, and all the Xhaka news, the Bellerin news. It kind of took away the excitement of the news, and I think people didn't even watch the videos that came out on YouTube because of all of the stuff that came out. So I feel like, we should give our dues to Arsenal. They've got the third deal done, and I think there should be plenty more to come if, fingers crossed, we get the other deals out, like the sales and stuff. So yeah.
Well, I mean, even with those sales, right, Z? Like, I mean, I would imagine even with a Xhaka staying, and look, we'll get into it because it deserves its own segment, right? But even with him staying, we always needed 2 center midfielders, and we got one in Lukunga. So this kind of shock and oh my God, the world's ending, that Xhaka is preventing our sale. I really disagree with it. I think we always were gonna be after a second person, but maybe Xhaka leaving meant that we could afford a third, really, or a better version of that second. What I mean by that is maybe you could spend more on that second CM, but he never would have held back a center midfielder from arriving. I think Hector Bellerin would, so that kind of opens a right back for sure, and I think Ainsley has to go as well, to be fair. I am annoyed, I'll be honest, because I think I did expect more movement in the week that I was gone. So at least a major sale, I had slotted in. So I'm upset in that regard, but I also think people just need to calm down because, in terms of incomings, it's very clear where our eggs lie in our big marquee signing. That's James Maddison. It's very clear. And he is the priority in terms of the system. And, if Xhaka is staying, and I know we'll get onto it, but that completes the midfield balance. Right? And when you're looking at pure options in midfield and what you lack an attacking midfielder in addition to Smith Rowe. We lack somebody in the front line. So that first is vital.
Z, I want to hear your thoughts before I go, because I've got quite a lot to say about this Ben White situation. So let me know what's going on, man.
What do you want to say? Talk about Ben White or Maddison?
Either. Your call, buddy.
No, I mean, look. I've already had my thoughts on Ben White. I mean, I think it's a brilliant addition. I mean, it elevates, our defense, and we can actually press up higher on the pitch, and we can evolve our game. I think this is improvement. This is what the process is. The process is looking at how we performed last season, and we look to improve on exactly what we did last season, and go to the next stage. And bringing in players like Lukunga, Tavares, and Ben White so far is obviously going to help us, take that next step. Now, where do I see us? Adding in, obviously, I mentioned last week that we're looking to bid around £65 million for James Maddison, and that is still in place. I think what's his name, Bell came out and mentioned that the fee is not the issue. It's all about prioritizing his deal over others, and I think there is an element of truth to that, because Leicester do want the deal, do want financially most of the money up front, and now he's probably 20 to 30 million pounds over a static budget for us attacking midfielder. So I feel like we need to make a sale to ensure that this deal goes through without compromising on any other positions like a central midfielder, right back, goalkeeper, whatever. So I feel like that will happen probably in the latter stages, and once we start seeing a bit more movement with Willock, Eddie, and stuff. And then, I mean, that's it really. I don't really have much to add on. Nothing's really changed apart from all this news about Xhaka and Bellerin, honestly. And I feel like we should give Xhaka his own segment. So yeah.
Yeah, we are going to give Xhaka his own segment. So before we move on from Ben White, there are a couple of things that need to be addressed. So I don't like doing this, but there are things that need to be said because of the way that fans have reacted to this Ben White signing. I don't understand why celebrating a player coming in means that you suddenly have to hate the other player. It doesn't make it makes hate a different player. For me, I don't. I've been clear. I love watching William Saliba on his loan. I think he's going to do great at Marseille. I don't understand where this whole if you're excited for a player to come in, even if he gets the same, he takes the number off. I don't understand. He gets number 4. So what? It's William hasn't played a game for the club yet. Like, it's not that big a deal yet. If I'm excited for a player to come in and take that number, suddenly I'm suddenly an awful fan that doesn't understand what's going on at the club. So I just think everything's gone a bit out of hand. People need to take a bit of retrospect and realize that there are things that don't need to be done right now. That they don't need. They need to go from a 12 to about a 2. The deal has been done. He's at Marseille now, and the amount of toxicity and threats. It's not honestly, I don't really like talking about it, but it's not okay, and I refuse to let it sit. I'm going to stay away from that side of Twitter from now on. I'm just going to be talking football forever now. If you want to talk to anything else, you're just going to get blocked or muted. But from now on, I want nothing to do with it. I'm not talking to talk about William Saliba till he's an Arsenal player again. If you want to talk about William Saliba, please do it in your own space, because I refuse to talk about him anymore. I wish him all the best. I hope he does well at Marseille. But I'm not having it. I'm just not having it. So
I don't know, Curran. I think, as king of the Saliba season fan clubs, I think really what it is, and I'll be very crude and blunt, is it is self-deprecating fans exercising their past demons and putting it onto new players that don't deserve it. It's ridiculous. And, it's agenda-driven analysis that is just really typical of very casual correlation analysis, really. Fundamentally, William Saliba is out. He is at Marseille. The fact that he took a number is ridiculous. We gave number 11 to Torreira. We gave number 4 to El Neni. Having squad numbers meaning a prominence in a team is a ridiculous notion that fans have dreamt up because it looks nice on paper. It has nothing to do with fans and future planning. What I will say on this is we needed a ball-carrying presence to get us up the pitch and get us at the halfway line. We needed that. William Saliba, could he have solved it? Yes, no. There's debate. Fundamentally, we needed that position filled. We have it filled. So there should be happiness with that. Anything else in afters is kind of ridiculous thoughts that fans are just doing because they have an agenda and they want to be proven right more than they want to see Arsenal succeed. So I don't consider those people fans. And look, I'm with you, mate. I get death threats on it.
It's riled up 2 different sides of the fan base. Obviously, I was obviously part of it yesterday. I tweeted about something about Ben White being announced and Saliba being French deadwood. It's because the other side again. They are completely making as if Ben White is the ultimate enemy. We shouldn't have signed him because we've killed a 20-year-old player's career. So it's becoming toxic. I just want to isolate the issue. I feel like Ben White in itself is a very good player. He's a very talented player, and Saliba would have been a talented player for us too. Stuff like this happens all the time. We've seen it for years and years in different football clubs, and we've seen it at Arsenal. I feel like we should draw a line and move on because it's becoming way too much to handle. It's going beyond the point that we're talking about football. It's becoming personal, and I feel like this is where the line should be drawn, and we should move on because that's it.
To move on to something a bit more positive, because I do want to talk. I did forget something about Ben White that I did want to say before we did move on. If you look at, I'm going to post a video later on my Twitter. If you look, it goes through all the passing combinations and build up that we've had on in the post January to the end of the season, and you see the reliance on the right side. You see the likes of Holding coming wide on the right. You see Bellerin being used as deep on the right side corner flag to come as an option to come out. The right side is key to our build-up, and so if we're going to have we need a ball progressor in that right centre back role, someone that's able to be good on the ball, be able to spot a run and spot and make sure to pick out a pass that gets us up the pitch. And
Curran, I think just really quickly, there's a reason that we use the right side, and that's because Gabriel, however much I like him, he struggles in short to medium range passing. So when you're looking for an ideal partner for somebody like Gabriel, who is our starting left center back option, okay, let's be clear. And he's great at what he does, but what he struggles with in terms of build-up are the short and medium range passing. He's actually quite good at long passing, but those incisive passes into midfield he struggles with. And so what we've done is we've overloaded the right-hand side in order to free up our wingers and our fullback, who on the left is Kieran Tierney. And we want him to operate in the left wing role. So that's very purposeful for our system. And so when you're looking at recruiting somebody like Ben White, you now no longer have to actually have the additional security of a Hector Bellerin inverted. We don't have to have an inverted right back because we have somebody who A, is able to progress from deep, A, and B, has the kind of the long pass out switch to Kieran Tierney. But also, I think what people are forgetting, for 2 seasons now with both Bielsa and Brighton, what has Ben White done in terms of defending? He has defended that right half space corridor, and he's done it outnumbered. He's done it with a Tariq Lamptey rushing on. He's done it with a kind of, your Luke Aylings rushing on. He's done it outnumbered multiple times, and he's kind of done it not only in the Championship, but in the Premier League. So he comes in already having done that, and he's done that counter press system, by the way, with Bielsa. So when you're looking at like a footballing education, what is Ben White solving? He's not just solving the progression current. He's solving the idea that you can now open up your system to not have to have the right back inverted. We may want to at times. We may want to do it for specific, formations and, philosophy opposition, but it doesn't make us have to have them there, because I've said it before, that inverted right back is a Band-Aid fix to what's happening in our midfield. So in order to kind of remove that like rigidity in formations and tactics, we needed somebody competent to defend that space, but also progressive enough that he can carry the ball into midfield and contribute into attack. So it's twofold, right? It's a double-edged sword that we're fixing, and it's a very key purchase. And I really think that you need to understand that Ben White allows us to be brave on the ball. That's what Arteta wants. So, this is a very key change. And yeah, I'm ecstatic about it. I really, really am. I think Ben White is going to be an awesome addition. And I think that he will actually prove his cost this season. I don't think we'll be waiting 2 or 3 seasons to justify a £50 million signing. And I think this gets clouded over from the William Saliba situation. And like you, I don't want to touch on it because I think it's overplayed. I think it's ridiculous. I will say, anybody who does abuse or go into that extra step, you're just not welcome on my timeline. I receive it daily, and I receive it quite a bit, having, propped it in the man for so long. But I think it's just ridiculous. And no matter how much I believe in the talent potential, that doesn't negate the talent and potential of Ben White. It simply doesn't. So analyze the player, analyze what we got, and what we have simply is somebody who has, excelled in probably the perfect Arteta education that you want. When you think back to Bielsa, when you think now to Graham Potter and how he's developing with his system, which is very similar to ours, there is a lot to like. And if people simply don't understand from what we've said because of a lot of the terms, I encourage everybody to look at A, our past, Ben White video, but B, the Tifo Football, who said a lot of the same stuff that we've just said in terms of how he helps progression. And, it makes complete sense why he was targeted, why he was bought. So let's move on to the midfield and let's get that secured so we can feel happy about it. Because I do think half of this anxiety is because of fear in the context of what we're going to do as a whole. So if we get Ben White, that means nothing elsewhere, or that inhibits us elsewhere. So I think that's kind of a tempered anxiety with the fan base. That just gets, gaslit by, 15-year-old virgins that want to comment on Saliba. Yeah. So that's basically it.
I think that's the perfect way to leave the Ben White on the topic of 15-year-old.
It's good to see Chris. I haven't seen that smiling face in over a week. How's it going, mate?
Good, I'm good. How are you?
Good, mate. Good.
Speaking of, let's get him on this first. Granit Xhaka, thoughts? CK, bro. What are you thinking?
Yeah, go on,
Xhaka
man.
staying, yeah. For me, I never even wanted Xhaka to go this season because I always thought it would be a big, massive change to like transition all thirds of the pitch in one season, and I think having Xhaka there would have kept us at least like sure in the midfield for at least one more season. And say we change our defense and midfield and then attack in the same season. We've seen Chelsea try and it just didn't work. So it's like we need to get into the top four now, and I don't think we even want to risk. We want to minimize the risk for next season. And even if he does go, I wouldn't be angry because we can improve on him. But if he does stay, I wouldn't be angry either because I think Xhaka has definitely improved under Arteta and has been one of our most consistent performers in the past year and a half. So like with Xhaka staying, I don't think you'll hear complaints from me. Maybe from other people, but not from me. Like Xhaka has his deficiencies, and our fans were so willing to accept them deficiencies in other players, the exact same ones, but not accept Xhaka's. Yeah, I know certain fans just hate him because of the Crystal Palace thing. And I get that. I was at that game too, but I just don't think about that game anymore because it was a really toxic period in Arsenal in general because of Emery and everything going on. So it's like, yeah, I know some people, especially match-going fans, will never like Xhaka. They'll always hate him. But like, if he stays, I won't. As I've said, if he stays, I won't complain, and if he goes, I won't complain as long as we replace him with someone who's good enough.
Yeah, there's a lot to nibble with the Xhaka thing, right? So look, on one coin, he is emblematic of everything that I think people want to change, in midfield, but also in terms of a mentality with Arsenal, right? So he's going to kind of trigger fans in terms of how he acts, but I think on play, I want to focus on the play because I think a lot of revisionism happens with Granite. So when you're looking, I see people very excited about Locatelli, and at the same time
Don't want Xhaka
to leave.
Yeah,
and I do not understand because it's hypocrisy to the nth degree. Where Granit Xhaka, whether you like him or not on personality, let's put it to one side, but on play, he is among the best ball progressors in the world, not just in the Premier League, but in the world. And if you're going to tell me you want to replace it with a Locatelli, let's say, for example, then I want you to be prepared. You're getting somebody who leaves ground. You're getting somebody who is unable to compete in the 5 or 15-yard bursts as well. You need to accept those deficiencies. And I don't see that with Xhaka. I don't see people saying, yeah, but he's got great progression. Do not see that same consistency in the logic. And so, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to add on because with Locatelli, he goes to ground a lot as well. And in the Premier League, he's going to get caught. So all those disciplinary issues that you guys want to talk about with Xhaka, you're going to get them with Locatelli as well. He's going to be someone that's going to be sliding around a lot. He's not someone that I would be comfortable with defensively. But I just wanted to add that as you were going, George, because I know that's a good point.
Well, the thing is, Current, so like, and then I'm hearing this a little bit secondhand, but Bruno Guimaraes from Lyon is like, another recent link that we've done. So we're clearly in that profile. But again, Bruno is slightly more athletic. So, I mean, he'll have a marginally better ability to defend those transitions. But ultimately, over 15 yards, he's going to look slow. And anybody who has watched him very, efficiently is going to see that. And so for me, the debate has always been, do we move beyond that in midfield? Yes or no? Do we beyond that type in midfield? Yes or no? And if we do, then great. I'm on board. That's something that I would like to see. I've been on record loving Basuma. I'm a PNP merchant, as people have labeled me. Like, I love that direction. But look, if you're telling me, George, we're not going to go that direction, you have to do a deep-lying playmaker, then yeah, I think anybody other than Xhaka is a downgrade at this moment. He is very good at what he does and for a purpose. And there's never been a time in the Premier League where a Xhaka-Partey partnership as a pivot has really been outrun when you really look at it. I know that past revisionism might go on his mistakes, but fundamentally, that pivot has been very solid. And what we've learned with Xhaka this season, and he's a lot more positionally aware. So while I want something different, while I want to move on, I would rather go towards a Basuma, a Boubacar Kamara from Marseille, that type of sitter. I would much rather that. I'm not going to sit here and complain if I'm going to hear, George, you're forced to have a deep lying playmaker, and that person's going to be Xhaka. So I think for me, I'm like with Chris. I don't care if he goes. If he does go, I want to see us change midfield, though. That's the only caveat I will add to like Chris's kind of opinion on this, because if he does go, I want to see something different there. I don't want to see a Neves. I don't want to see a Locatelli. I don't want to even see a Bruno Guimaraes. And I would much rather something different there. But if he stays, then let's supplement him with another type of sitter so that you have that profile in the squad if you do want to change it up. Because for me, I see what he does as very replaceable in the system. And I think what people have seen from Thomas Partey, look, I haven't seen the last 2 games, but the first 2 that I saw, he was conducting the progression to things I love to see.
He still is.
A lot higher up. And I want that to stay. I don't want that to change. And unfortunately, I don't know if people want to, admit it, but with a Xhaka, with a Locatelli, with all these things, that doesn't happen. We've seen it. We've seen how he operates with the 2. So, yeah, for me, I was very surprised that he was leaving. I've said it in the group chats. I thought that was a change that was too early, but also like kind of drastic. I compared it to a huge era-changing moment because it is for me, because he's huge in the dressing room. So if he was to leave, it's huge. Make no mistake about it.
George, I want to put this to you because this is my situation that I think might happen. I don't know if it's possible, but my thing is hopefully if Xhaka does stay and we get some some exits. My thing is if you can get someone like El Neni to go, and then bring in Bruno as the backup to a Xhaka and put him through the physical training that he needs over the next year. Because for me, Bruno Guimaraes, his biggest weakness is his lack of physicality. I think he's a great ball progressor as well. I think he would be someone that I would like at the club. But so you have a midfield quartet of Guimaraes, Lokonga, and then Xhaka and Partey. What would you think about that?
I'll be honest, Kern, I won't be happy because for me, I think what people aren't understanding, and I think it's, again, racial scouting, is Lokonga is a conductor, guys. Like, when you're looking at that type of profile, people want to debate, was he a 6, was he an 8? Look, it always depends on your partner, okay? Just like I look at Thomas Partey as a conductor, I look at him more of a conductor 8 personally, but he is a conductor in that midfield. You cannot have 2 conductors. And so Lokonga, for me, he is that person on the ball. He is that progressor on the ball. When you guys are talking about, or not you, Kern, but like when people talk to me about, Bruno Guimaraes, he's a great progressor. He's great at this. Guys, Lokonga is that profile. So I don't know why we need a third. You don't need 2 of the same player in the same position in the same zone. So you need to complement that Lokonga purchase with a future sitter or with somebody that can let him do the orchestration of the buildup. Okay? So for me, I will be upset if we were to get Bruno because I find it redundant. You've recruited a profile who loves passing. The one thing that even in the very little that I've seen with Lokonga, he wants to get on the ball, but he loves passing volume. It's not just like he's a great progressor between the lines, but he's a lovely orchestrator in terms of volume of passes. So you are getting a baby Xhaka in him. And I know people don't want to see it because he's better athletically, but his best traits are some of what Xhaka's best traits are, but he's also got more. He's more complete. So you have that player for me already. So if we were to recruit somebody else, a sitter, and I've said who I want in terms of Basuma, but also Boubacar Kamara from Marseille, who's, last year of his contract, cheap, 22, that's a beautiful sitter that would complement a Lokonga, but also an Aziz. Like, I'm very cognizant of Aziz. I got slaughtered in chats from previously saying that Aziz was ready. And I think you guys look at Aziz's physical presence right now. I think people are shocked, but I'm not. He is ready to participate. I don't know about starting, but he is certainly ready for an adult game. And he is somebody that's going to be a little bit higher up. He is. He's a lot more box to box. And so I really do feel as though people are underestimating what an Aziz involvement means to our general plans. So our next purchase has to complement these guys, lads. It has to complement players that are playing a little higher up. And so for me, yeah, I would be upset with a Bruno Guimaraes. I think he's better than Locatelli. I think he's better than a Neves. I would get more excited if you told me, George, of your three, you have to choose your favorite one. But again, fundamentally, I really think he's plagued by similar things. And look, Kern, I don't think you can teach athletic long-term distance to somebody that's already 21, 22. They're developed at that point. So it's like it's not a learned thing. Athletic ability at this point.
I'm not saying at the athletic ability, but in terms of the physicality that he lacks. I don't think it's with Bruno. When I've looked at him, it's not much of a. He doesn't have. I think he's good over short, but not over the 15 yards. I think he's good over 5. He's very good over 5. It's just
but that's
over
why
15.
his successful pressures are good, mate, because he has an okay, and I don't think it's great because what it is, he has elite half turn ability. That I will say. He's excellent on half turn. And he rides challenges amazingly. But what he does then is he can't attack the space. He gets rid of it. So that first couple seconds that he does receive the ball, it's typically a long pass or it's a dribble in space. When he is confronted by people, if you do analyze, he gets rid of it quickly because he doesn't trust his body. And it's a similar.
And that's my point. That's my point, though. If you can develop his body as in terms of strength wise, and you can get him to be physical enough to get him past people, I don't know. I think there is something there. I think if you I'm not saying start him now, because I don't think starting him now, especially if Xhaka's there, I don't see. But I think that having a backup that is Bruno in that situation, I think it would work. I want to get Z on this because I know he's been waiting on this Xhaka situation as well. Very, very gun at the ready.
To be fair, if it was up to me, I wouldn't even speak about Xhaka because I just don't want to waste my time. Because I feel like I'm going to move away from the footballing idea of having Xhaka in the team. While I understand Xhaka is probably we should sell Xhaka next year, and I think I agree with that too. But I feel like to an extent, there should be the right time to move away from him in terms of we've got the fans back. His relationship with the fans aren't the greatest. I think is actually probably one of the worst. And I feel like if there's a good time to replace him, because look at the market, it should be now. So that's one of the main reasons I wanted to see Xhaka leave, and like George kept on saying, it would have been a new era for Arsenal. That's exactly what I was waiting for. It was something that I was really excited about, and just to have the news to say that we're going to be offering Xhaka a new 5-year deal, it's kind of mind-boggling because he's 29 years old, and if you offer him a 5-year contract, that he's going to be essentially retiring at Arsenal, and I want us to move away from his type of midfielders. And number two,
do you really? Sorry, just really quickly. Do you really think that a contract is not us posturing in the market though? Like, I mean,
yeah, it could be, and I've already said that. The contract that we've potentially offered, and I say that in quotation marks.
Quotations, yeah.
It could be us posturing, but then again, I feel like Xhaka holds all the cards here, right? Because one, he has direct contact with Roma. I think he's established a relationship with Jose Mourinho. Number two, if he rejects the contract, then we've got no say in this. We're going to lose a player, regardless. Regardless if it's this season or next season. And number three, if he stays, we still don't really get much of it because we're offering a huge contract to a 29-year-old. So we're not in the greatest of position to actually even bargain with anyone. I just felt like we should just cut our relationship with this guy and just move on and start the new era that you have also been banging on about. That's just my input, and I understand CK's input. He wants Xhaka to stay at least this season to essentially help the transition. But for me, I just want to be cold on this and just say, just go.
I understand. I just think that I personally I was with Z. I think I was pretty vocal on this. I didn't really want to see Xhaka stay this season, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I think that that the midfield is a position that we need to have a transition on severely in the coming seasons, especially this next season. I want to see what Lokonga does. Addressing the 6 issue for Lokonga. George, you've missed it, but he's had a couple of games, and he's played as a 6 and excelled as a 6.
In one of them.
In one of them, yeah, but he played as an 8 other one.
I haven't watched it, Curran, but let me just guess what happened here, and I would assume it was against Millwall. I would assume it was against the low block, and I would assume that Partey started deeper, or he was paired with El Neni as well. And there's a reason for that pairing, because I think when you're in a low block, you're able to sacrifice defensive solidity on transitions in order to kind of accommodate somebody that can do that orchestrator, but also deep, and you get more of a flat midfield. So I'm not surprised to hear it, but I again kind of point towards 6-8. It doesn't matter. One is going to be the conductor in that pivot. And I would imagine Partey was more up the box and, able to do more if he played that way. They just swapped roles, and he probably played it more like Xhaka. But yeah, go on.
The thing is with this with the Lokonga situation, like Partey in build up was actually playing as we saw him against Hibs. He was playing almost off the D. He was sort of conducting himself from the edge of the box and trying to conduct build up. And it was a case where Lokonga, I was surprised. I really was. Like I didn't see. I know he said I'm a 6, but I didn't see him transitioning to that role so smoothly. Because I'm with you, George. I thought it was an 8. So I mean, obviously these are just numbers, and roles and partners are, it varies on partners and play and performance and all these things. But I was surprised at how adapt he was to the role. And I know Z thinks he's got some sort of ability as a 6. If you want to go on it, Z.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like, just from what I've watched anyways, he's going to be the 6 for Arsenal in terms of recruitment. But again, CK also says he's a hybrid. We don't know, man. We need to see more games. But definitely, I feel like he's just been brought in as a 6.
Well, he's a passing 6'8", guys. Like we've said it before. For me, again, these numbers, like everyone gets really nitpicky, but Partey can play 6. I don't think that debate. I don't like him to play 6, but he can. And when you're telling me about like a Lokonga, that's the same thing. Can the man play 6? Yeah, he can, of course. But do I want him to play 6? Heck no. I want him higher up the pitch where his passing is going to influence play a lot more. What I do want is, I think he needs to be complemented. That's the thing. And like Curran, again, when you listed those teams, there's kind of a common thread. Hibs, and then when you looked at Millwall, when that happened, like, again, these are low block teams when you were able to sacrifice that. So I really look, if I see him against Chelsea and he performs that way, then yeah, maybe I'll change my mind in terms of, we've seen more of him. We can do that. But I struggle to see it because even in the few highlights I saw, I didn't see the defensive awareness that I like from my 6. Okay.
Yeah.
I really think if it is a transition, that's a 2-year transition away. And people should not expect that this season. And if they do, we're in trouble. If you're telling me, George, he's playing 6 with Partey in a pivot next season, I am worried. I am not a fan of that.
The reason why I say it, because I feel like he's been briefed by the club that he's going to be potentially the number 6 for Arsenal. If you go by his interview, he reiterates that he's the number 6, and a lot of people like him playing 6. So I feel like he's been briefed by the club. And then I just want to put 2 and 2 together. His first 2 games for Arsenal, he's played as a 6. He's played with Partey, and he's played essentially the Xhaka role as well. So it's kind of me putting 2 and 2 together, and he did really well. He was actually progressing the ball really well. He was gathering up the pitch as well, and it was refreshing to see 2 midfielders in the team that actually have legs. So that's part of the reason why I feel like he could be the mainstay 6. Again, he's definitely a project signing, and not for sure like a first team signing that he starts game in and game out. I really doubt that. But for sure he can come in and make a name for himself in that position, 100%.
So we got Waj here. Welcome, Waj, mate. I want to get your thoughts on Xhaka, Partey, Lokonga on midfield. What are you feeling? What are your thoughts about what's going on right now?
Thanks for having me, guys. Lovely to meet you all, you guys as well. George, big fan as well of your stuff. So
nice to meet you.
Yeah, lovely to see you guys. Firstly, I've been hearing you guys talking about Xhaka and stuff, and I think for me, is Xhaka, and I'd go back to what Z said. Is Xhaka for me is someone that I wanted to move on, and not because personally, at least, I know Z, you hate him and stuff like that, but personally, the reason I want to move Xhaka on is because I feel there's too much water under that bridge. I feel there's too much kind of like history now with the fans. It's a bit of a toxic relationship. Any mistake, whether it's a big mistake or a small mistake, is going to be absolutely microscoped, and he's going to get bashed, etc., etc. So I would prefer to just move him on and get on with it, but not because of the quality of the player, more because of kind of like the history of what is going on with him. Now, going back to what you said, George, I know you said that if you do move Xhaka on, you would rather go for a Basuma Kamara type defensive midfielder rather than a deep lying playmaker like a Bruno Guimaraes or a Locatelli. And what I would say to that is, I hear what you're saying, and I do think that there's a lot of kind of like benefits to having someone like a Basuma in our team. I do think that pivot of Basuma and Partey would work very well. But in saying that, when I look at the big teams, the teams like the Man Cities, the Barcelonas, the Chelseas, the Real Madrids, all of these teams, and even when you look at the internationals and who won the Euros, it was Italy. One thing that they all have a commonality in is that they all play a deep line playmaker. You see the Jorginhos, the Busquets, the Rodris. Before that, I know Fernandinho was a little bit different, but even still, he was a very progressive deep lying player. The Jorginhos, as I said, and I think Arteta is from that same school of thought. So I would be very surprised if he does go away from that. And that's why the links that we've had make sense. Now, I know Lokonga, and I do agree with you. There's been a lot of racial scouting, which makes us think that Lokonga's been brought in. That means he's a box-to-box midfielder. He's going to be Partey, etc., etc. And I do agree that. And I think me and Z even said it before he even played his first game. He's been brought in to be a six at Arsenal. So I do agree with you on that. However, is he ready for that sixth position? He looks like he's absolute mint. He looks really good. I really like Lokonga, his positioning, his passing, etc., etc. But I worry whether he's ready for that step up just yet to be playing all of those games for Arsenal at the moment. So I personally, I would love a Bruno Guimaraes kind of midfielder to kind of like complement Partey. I think Partey's qualities can give you extra defensive cover in that midfield anyway, even if your deep line playmaker is not an absolute elite defensively. You've got someone like Partey who can do both sides of the game so well that it can kind of like cover your deep line playmaker, who will have the big advantage of very high progressive play, which maybe someone like Bissouma lacks.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've kind of talked about it. For me, the reason why I prefer a type of Bissouma over a deep line playmaker is because of my evaluation on Partey and where he's best at. And so this partner is, for me, I want to make the best version of Thomas Partey. And while you can have somebody, because he is so two-way, you're right, like he can cover a deep line playmaker. I don't think that's where he's been played best at. If I look at Thomas Partey last season, and forget quality, for example, but he partnered with El Neni and he partnered with Xhaka. Two very different types of sitters, very different quality. But I would argue his best performances have come more consistently with El Neni over Xhaka. And that's not because, El Neni is a better player than Xhaka. that's because for me, the profile complements Partey much better when he is free not to do that defensive work. And if you have Partey in the first phase in build-up more, which you will if you have a deep-lying playmaker, because what we've seen is Xhaka or whoever it is going to drop in that left channel, who, by the way, is going to block Gabriel from pressing up, which he can. But you're going to have him there to cover a Kieran Tierney who's bombing on, and you're essentially going to have somebody just filling in that spot because we have a hole in the area. And you're going to leave Thomas central, and that's going to be kind of the result of having a deep-lying playmaker, whether it's Locatelli, Neves, Bruno Guimaraes. The same thing's going to happen because we're going to have a bombing on kind of Kieran Tierney, and you're going to force Partey deeper, which for me has never been the play. Now, if you do a Bissouma type, and if you do a Kamara type, what I like is people kind of isolate these players where if you actually watch Bissouma in Lille, he ranked in the 89th percentile for progressive passing, where Locatelli is ranked in the 95th percentile. So when I look at people, again, it's for me, it's racial scouting. Again, he is very, very progressive. It's a role that he's been asked to play, hasn't been that for Brighton. And for me, what I really would like is I would like Thomas Partey higher up. What we saw against Hibs, this is where it kind of fundamentally gets down to for me on the partners talk. I want to see Partey at his best. And for me, Partey at his best is conducting. He's able to go higher up the pitch. I don't want him in the first phase because while I actually think he has kind of a loose touch, he's very risky in his passing. And I like that way. That's not a critique of him. But I think what his instincts are to turn and move. And that doesn't necessarily work well in the first phase. So I would rather that happen higher up the pitch, where if we were to lose it, I have a much farther distance to cover defensively. So that's the issue for me when you do these debates. And I don't think if you look at a Bruno Guimaraes, you're going to have very similar progressive passing numbers, but people are going to struggle with his running back to goal. Like you're going to have Xhaka moments against Antonio, against, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, against a Richarlison on the opposite side. You're going to have extremely similar types of faults and kind of transition back to goal. So for me, I just hope people understand that if you do get a deep lying playmaker, if you do get somebody like that, you're going to have those instances. And if you truly want to kind of evolve in the midfield, like I've talked about with Z, why I want Bissouma, a Kamara, because I agree, I want to move on from this. I don't want to have a deep lying playmaker in that left corridor. I want to have the Invincibles mold. Everyone knows that's kind of my dream philosophy, where you have your Gilberto Silva, your Vieira. And if I look at Thomas Partey, which of the two is he more like? I would challenge fans to think. I think he's more Vieira than he is Silva. And so for me, in order to have the best complement of that, where I find our right back bombing on also, because I don't want a Callum Chambers and right back, I want a different profile. In order for that to work, what we need is a Bissouma type. In order to facilitate that change, that's what we need. Now, if you're telling me, George, we can't have that, then yeah, I think my best pick would be a Bruno Guimaraes, but I'd also just caution fans, you're going to see very similar Xhaka moments. He won't have the same issues on the ball in build-up, but if he is isolated against an Antonio, I don't trust him to win that battle. And I just hope fans are okay with that if you do.
I think it's one of the commonalities with deep lying playmakers in general. To be honest, I know Chelsea fans have struggled massively with Jorginho as an example at Chelsea. Rodri, we saw with Man City, was dropped towards the end of last season. So there is that commonality with deep lying playmakers. The advantages that they bring you is in attacking transitions is quite substantial. However, like you said, it's got to be accepted by the fans. They have to take that on board, that defensively you could be very very kind of like susceptible to defensive mistakes or on the transition. So yeah, I do agree with you on that.
You know what made, just sorry really quickly, Curran, what I am worried about, I don't think fans are, because we've been so long, our team is not going to sit back as much. Like when we increase our quality, we're going to be a halfway defending team, like a Liverpool, like a Man City. That has to be the dream, right? And if you're telling me if that's how we're going to defend, do I want a Bruno Guimaraes there? Or do I want a Bissouma there? That's what I really struggle with, because I'm looking to the future. I'm not just looking to how we play right now. And I'm glad that you brought up the Rodri point, mate, because I would argue that Pep changed the system this year so that he didn't have that deep lying playmaker. He played more with the pivot and he looked more defensively secure. And actually, when he did falter in the Champions League finals, when he went back to that lone pivot area, and for me, I think we've seen consistently in today's game with transitions that, you know, you've got to go from defense to attack as quick as you can, and back, and vice versa. So if you do lose the ball, you have to get back in your shape as quick as you can, because they almost bypass the midfield in today's game. We don't see that traditional Barcelona tiki-taka play in today's game. We really see the wide overloads, crosses into the box, and people bypassing that central zone, right? And so for me, if that's going to be the way forward, which, I mean, I do have a bias, I love that, but if that is the way forward, I'm very worried about what type of player we put in that center of the pitch, because if you're going to see those situations more often than not, I would rather us be secure in transition. I don't want to see us outrun. So I think why people love Lokonga as a 6 is because the athleticism. It's not so much the progression, because we've seen it. It was just like, oh, wow, I can see somebody that can run. And I would argue, okay, let's add that, but let's add that with somebody that can do both. Everybody knows I love Samare, and that was my pick. That was my plan A, because I didn't have to sacrifice both. If you looked at the passing stats, you know, Samare was actually better than Locatelli in terms of, and, you know, so he had an ability to do both. And so when I look at a Bissouma, is he the same level of progression? No, he's not. But can he do it? Yeah, he showed it for Lille. So I don't think that if I were to sacrifice one transition or ability on the ball, I would sacrifice the ability on the ball, because I believe Thomas Partey has that ability. I think that's what I want to go back to, because I really think he could be a conductor, and I don't want him kind of deeper. And if that means that he will be deeper, I don't think that the benefits in a Bruno Guimaraes, which he does have, they do, right, outweigh Thomas Partey being deeper, essentially. That's my conundrum from where my logic goes. But yeah, it's a tough one. I'm not a fan of these links of a deep line playmaker. So if that is the play, I'd rather Xhaka stay. But if he does go, let's change it up. Like, let's blow it up, which is what I want to do. And let's get back to an invincible 2-2-6, where we had our box of twin towers, right? Your Gilberto Silva, you know, your Vieira, your Sol Campbell, your Tourés. I think we have that now with Ben White and Gabriel. I'm confident. And with Partey, it just needs that last player as that quartet. And, you know, I really see it as allowing us to control teams a lot more. So, yeah, let's see. I think we'll see a lot more links in the upcoming weeks, but it's interesting in terms of Lokonga. I do believe, again, he's a conductor for me. Whether that's a 6 or an 8 is kind of hearsay for me, because I think depends on your partner, right? Like, Thomas Partey could play deeper, he could play higher, but he'll be in charge of progression. That's no doubt for me. So and that's why I urge fans to kind of look at him. I think he is much more Xhaka-like than people see. He's just way more athletic. He's more complete. But in terms of what his instincts on the ball are, passing volume, right? Like, ability on the ball, you can see that in highlights. I got to go back and watch the games, but I'm sure everyone was a big fan of what his ability on the ball and his incision between the lines. So you're going to get that. But yeah, let's. I guess, Corinne,
I think we need to go to some signings that aren't being talked about as much, some transfer links that are being talked about a lot, and some transfer. And another major transfer that's actually happened. So I want to start first with the signing of Biereth from Fulham, because I don't think people are covering it a lot, and I think he's a major get for the academy. And I know myself and a lot of the lads here are a big fan of people coming through the academy. So anyone seen it, or anyone seen him play, or have we had any thoughts on him? Because I need to go do a scout on him properly.
To be fair, I've only just seen a clip of him training with a personal coach, and he was just practicing like the different types of finishing, right? And he looks like he had a massive shot on him. Like he was pure incision in his shot. But that's all I've seen from him. I don't know much about him. I've seen his goal scoring record, and it looks pretty impressive.
It's mental. It's mental.
Yeah.
21 appearances, 21 goals, 13 assists. It's not.
I think what one of the most impressive things about his stats are is actually his assist ratio is quite good as well, which makes me think of his style is obviously one that brings this into play, which maybe the style of the previous strikers that have come through is a little bit different, like the Ballagans and stuff like that. Even though Balogun is very good at holding up the ball, I feel like he's more about he's very good technically dribbling and all of that kind of thing. This boy seems a little bit more kind of like obviously he seems obviously very good at scoring goals, but also the whole aspect of bringing others into play, which could be good for, especially with that Mola guy going on loan. They don't really have that type of striker now in the under 23s. So having him in would, sorry, under 18s, whatever it may be. So seems quite good. Good profile.
CK?
We had to bring someone in because Balogun left the under 23s. Tyrese John George is on loan, Mola's on loan, and Armani Richards came last year, but he's younger anyway. So like we had to bring someone because there weren't any or barely any strikers there, and we chose someone whose goal scoring looks good. I haven't watched Fulham under 18s too much. I know they've got some good players, but I haven't watched it too much. And he, from what I've seen of him, he looks like he has a short back lift, but I'm going to have to see a lot more of him. But his stats do look great, but I'll probably have more to see on him next week because the under 18s have some games.
Okay, good.
I'm really quick, Curran, mate. I don't know who he is. I'll be honest. I haven't.
That's why I didn't go to you, mate.
Look, sorry guys. I don't know. I'd have to scout him, so I'm gonna refrain from really saying anything. Stats look great, but I trust the team at this point. We didn't need a body, though. CK is right. Like we just needed a body simply. Muller's out on loan as well. Balogun's up. Eddie's gone. Tyrese is gone on loan again to Blackpool. So in terms of like a recognized striker that they're really wanting kind of in the academy, so they needed a hole. So let's see how he does.
Just to add a little comment there, George. George, you'll be very happy to know that Aziz just scored a banger again for other under 23s.
Excellent. We love to hear that. I'm the biggest proponent of having that man in the team. I told everybody physically he is ready. I know that we don't want to put too much expectation on youngsters, but look, that leg pick seems to have got people more on my side.
It shows how quickly easily people are swayed, to be honest. Just one picture and everyone's sort of going mental. But more links, more new day, new links. Let's put it that way. So we've got the likes of Lautaro Martinez coming through as a link. We've got the Maddison links ongoing, of course. But now it looks like Atletico seem to be wanting to throw their name in the mix with the Lautaro Martinez thing, which makes sense. It does seem like a profile they do like. Before I tossed the people on this Lautaro Martinez link. I commented on this myself as well. I just said that if you want Lautaro Martinez for 70 million euros, but don't want Tammy Abraham for 40 million euros. I just don't really get it. Like I understand why you want Lautaro Martinez. He's someone that is great in the press. He's someone who's great as a striker. I think that he's more of a second striker personally. I think his profile mimics more Alexis than someone like an Alba or a Lacazette, someone that you can play around a striker. I don't really see him as that primary striker. You can see how that partnership with Lukaku blossom in Serie A. I mean, this is a great point. Lautaro Martinez and João Felix together would be money.
I'm not sure on that.
I think it would. I think the ability for each to work off each other would be kind of money. But Yeah, I just think that there's the main reason why I'm okay with this Lautaro Martinez deal because one is his age. He's still young. He's still very raw. I still think that he is lacking his efficiency lacks. I think he doesn't. We need to up our chance creation before we actually would be able to use him to the point where we're like, okay, this is our guy. I think he needs to be the signing after the 10. We need the 10 and we need the chance creation if we're going to sign him because I don't see him being extremely efficient and I worry about adaptation always. I don't want another Timo Werner situation for us. I don't want him to come in with the hype and get overwhelmed by it. And the last thing I'd say before I'm with other people is another reason why I don't mind this deal is because hopefully we can do cash plus Bellerin to Inter for him. And if we can get Bellerin out, it leaves another spot available for someone to come in as well.
I think that's the biggest thing that's been happening in the discussions. It's that it's going to be Bellerin plus a lump sum of cash. This whole Lautaro Martinez link has probably come since the last month or so, and I've been following it closely. But literally, as soon as the report came from Mike McGruff, I contacted the person and I was like, "So what's happening with this?" And he said, "Yeah, there's probably no chance it happens." So that's where I came out and I said, "Look, it's false. It's probably not happening." But since then, it's come out from David Ornstein and all these other, big Arsenal correspondents saying that Martinez, he would be happy to join Arsenal, and it doesn't seem like it's impossible. So I'm just waiting. Like, it could be a possible bluff from Arsenal, could be a possible bluff from the agent, but there seems to be like there's no smoke without fire. I mean, it does definitely seem like there is a striker that's going to be leaving. I personally feels like the same way when we kept on wanting a right centre back, even though we had Saliba. It's kind of the same thing. I feel like there definitely is a striker that might be on his way out. I just don't know who it is, aside from Eddie. So, yeah.
Well, I'll talk. I'm not a fan of Lautaro Martinez. I think he's very limited. I really
That's
do
my
think.
boy.
Yeah, well, look, he is best used off of somebody else. He's a second striker, and he runs the channels. He is not somebody that you're going to be looking at for a focal point. For me, he's very inefficient. I think we have better at home in Gabriel Martinelli, who's way more complete, and that essentially removes him as a striker in terms of your projections. That'll make him a left wing. I'm not a fan of that. I think Lautaro will struggle with the physicality of the league. He works best off of somebody else in terms of his partnership with Lukaku. Lukaku receives, he runs the channels. We don't play like that. In terms of our play, what we need is somebody free in the box, able to score goals, and he isn't as efficient as people say he is. So for me, I'm not a big fan of Lautaro Martinez. I think we have better at home. And again, I don't think we need a striker. I really don't understand this insistence on getting a striker. I would critique it if we were to move for a striker, even if we were to lose Eddie and Lacazette. I really do see Balogun being the type of profile that is more that target man type that will facilitate in midfield. They'll pin center backs back to goal. That is your profile there. In terms of somebody that runs the channels, we have Gabby. Like I don't understand it, and Lautaro isn't as great aerially as well. So for me, it does not make sense for us to do this deal. I would maybe see it getting rid of Bellerin, but you then clog up another position. So for me, I really don't see the logic in getting another striker. I would much rather that be used to get another right back, for example. If Bellerin isn't going to leave, I don't think that's worth doing a deal just to get another striker and doing basically a Lacazette situation 2.0, where you have two top strikers on top wages that, don't solve the entire need of the team, right? You're going to get a situation where 6 months later, we're going to want something different. And I can just see that happening. And I'm with Z. I really doubt this is actually plan A or any of serious interest. You know what it reminds me of? It's like when you go to the grocery store and you need to have your milk, your eggs or whatever, and then you see the cookies.
In a bag.
And you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe I could do with some cookies. And you pick it up and you're like, nah, not really. I don't think I need it. I don't believe that this is really a plan A type of strategy. I really feel this is much more oh, we're talking with Inter, let's see what we can do. And I really think that's the extent of kind of the interest from it. I don't believe it. And I don't think we have Aubameyang right now as that channel running striker on 200,000 pounds, a week minimally. So if you're telling me we're going to get another of that type in addition to a Martinelli, like where does he fit? That's my question again to fans. Like you have a young prospect who's great on XG, who's great and all those stats that people love to quote with Lautaro, but he's also not as complete. Like he doesn't have the aerial ability that Gabby does. So again, for me, I just struggle to see where does he fit. We've talked about this on the pod. If Lacazette and Eddie leaves, that's 23 appearances in the Premier League that need to be replaced, right? How does that get shared between Lautaro Martinez, Tammy Abraham, whoever you want to link as the striker, with Balogun, with Martinelli? For me, I don't see how you can share 23 appearances with 3 strikers, young strikers at that. And Balogun, he will feature because Arsenal have done an article on him. He's in preseason, and he wasn't signing a new contract without first team minutes. So he's definitely an option at striker, and that's going to happen. So for me, I don't see how you share 3 strikers with 23 appearances personally.
Right, CK, talk, man. Let's have a listen.
On him, I think he's a very inefficient finisher, and last season our fans were complaining a lot about us missing a lot of chances, and he missed more than all our players, and he missed double the chances Saka missed. So if people are going to complain about us missing chances and they want him to come in, then they're just going to contradict themselves because he is going to miss a lot. And I think he's inconsistent in most things he does. I think he's an inconsistent passer, inconsistent aerially, inconsistent dribbler, inconsistent finisher. But I think he's similar to Laka, but I think he's a bit more intense on and off the ball than Laka.
He's got that South American style.
Yeah, I think that's what he has over Lacazette, but he doesn't have the pace and power at all to make up for his deficiencies anyway. So we're going to lose some pace and power we could have with Aubameyang or someone else up top. So for me, I would never advocate for signing this guy. And he's worth like 70 million. So he's wasting money that could be used elsewhere. So for me, it's a big, big no. And even if it means Bellerin stays, then I wouldn't do it, honestly.
For me, it's Zeke. I'm sorry, Zeke. Zeke. Just before I give my final thoughts, go for it, bro.
Oh no, I was just making a reaction about Bellerin, man. I had nothing to say. That's a big one,
No, I don't want Bellerin to stay. I don't want Martinez to come because if Martinez comes and we sell Eddie, we still have 5 strikers, which means that position is still bloated, and you have another player on 200k plus. So what's the point of potentially causing problems in the change room?
What's Wad saying on that?
Yeah, bro, go for it, bro.
I like the profile of Martinez. I think he's got some important attributes which probably we don't have outside of Lacazette at the moment. If we're talking about experienced and like strikers that are well versed in their role. I know when we talk about, for example, Balogun and Martinelli, they're 2 huge prospects, which I also advocate. I love both players, but at the same time, I'm kind of like I'm thinking logically about how many games that they've played and how experienced that they are, given the fact that this season is so important to our future as a club. So for me, I do like. I mean, when we talk about efficiency, strikers tend to get more efficient as they grow older and they start getting close to their prime. Their efficiency tends to go up. So I'm not that worried about Martinez from that aspect. But Martinez, like Kieran said, he's got that South American kind of dog to him. And I know he used to play as a second striker at Inter Milan, but actually he plays as a lone striker for Argentina. So he does have experience in leading that line, and he's a very, very intense player, which given Arteta's system and what we've seen in pre-season, the way that we want to press high up the pitch, he'd fit perfectly into that. Also, on top of that, when you get technical players around him, like the Smith Rowes and the Sakas and potentially Maddison, Z, you can give us some good news on that or not. These kind of players will link up well with Lautaro Martinez. So that's my views on it.
Well, you know what, Curran, just before you go, my only pushback to this type, again, if you want an experienced striker, why not go for Danny Ings? Like if the idea is I need a bridge for our young prospects to do it, because if I analyze Gabby Martinelli, he has a dog in him. He's great on the counter press. He's excellent on all the XG numbers. He runs the channels. He has experience in the Premier League. And if you're trying to tell me like I need to replace George 14 league goals, which is what Lacazette and Eddie got in the league, and 23 appearances, I struggle to then say, well, I think Gabby can easily get us 10, 100%. Maybe if he doesn't, he gets us 8, maybe. But that's not unfeasible. And then when I add Balogun to the situation, I feel we have goals. But then for me, why get a 24-year-old who's very similar in profile to Gabby if you see him in that position? I think that you block that development for him. And so if you want a striker, why not get Danny Ings? Homegrown, very intense, will get you goals, knows the league, last year of his contract. Like if that's the logic that we just need a striker, even though I disagree with it completely, why not go get somebody like him, or even like a Patrick Bamford, who also I believe is in the last year of his contract.
Even Tammy.
No, people won't want Tammy because Chelsea and he's in the league. Arsenal fans will never advocate for Tammy just because they're Chelsea.
No, I'm not talking about Arsenal fans. I'm talking about just in terms of what works for the squad. Like,
but again,
worry,
I go similar. You're blocking paths of people that I believe are our starting strikers. So I don't think that's even the argument, because you know what I find that we do, Waj, and like everybody personally, we make excuses for links about how they make sense. And there's some that I believe
literally.
And like that he's a bad player. Like I hope this doesn't get across that I believe that Lautaro Martinez is shit. I just don't think he's complete enough or solves enough problems that he's worthy of a £40 million purchase, in addition to what we may need to do. That's basically where I stand on some of these links, including like your Brunos, including, if I could have a theme with it, when I look at a purchase, he has to solve a major issue with the squad. And if Martinez is a striker, does he solve our output problem? No.
No, he doesn't. No way.
Does he solve our lack of aerial ability?
No way. Never. No.
Does he solve an ability to pin center backs back and do back to goal? No. So like he's a good player, like he could work, but I don't think he solves the major problems in the front line. Essentially,
he's the first link that I've seen that I feel like it makes absolutely zero sense. Honestly,
zero.
I cannot put him in the starting lineup because I feel like he's more of a striker that plays off a target man. If you put him on the left, then that's us removing someone like Emil Smith Rowe or Martinelli able to play on the left, and obviously he's not going to play on the right. So what are we doing really with him? What's the direction? I feel like it's a bogus rumor, man. Honestly, it's a bogus rumor in the sense that it's coming from Arsenal's perspective, came from David Ornstein, came from McGrath. There's nothing coming from his end. His end has completely denied it plenty of times. So again, I feel like it's a no-go, and I don't know what you guys have to say, Curran.
Yeah.
I don't know. I personally just don't see it happening at all.
So, I just want to expand on the George point. So basically, I've seen a lot of people today saying, but this means we could play 2 at the front. But we can go 2 at the front. We can play maybe a 4-2-2 or a 4-2-2, and we can go forward that way. And I'm thinking, so it's not about what we've talked about as before. We're just trying to fit the system around players, and that's not the way that we've tried to do things in this window and the last one. We're here to try. We're putting the team first. The team comes first. The system comes first, and you buy players according to that system. You don't buy players and just
it's not even good enough to change the system for.
And if you're going to pay him for 70, if you're going to get a £70 million or euro fee, and you're not going to start him, why? Why? Tell me. if we have people better at the club suited to the system, why are we getting players at that price when we could be putting that money towards who we're going to be talking about next in James Maddison? It doesn't make any sense. And the reason why I brought Tammy Abraham up is because people for me it just shows the hypocrisy that people want. Like, I'll give you the perfect example. So in Serie A, Lautaro Martinez has an XG plus an NPXG plus XA of 0.67. Tammy Abraham was 0.63 in the EPL. In the leagues are completely different, and you have the same sort of output that you're getting from these players. Yet somehow Tammy is the worst thing to ever happen since the apocalypse, and Lautaro Martinez is sliced bread. I can't believe it. We're in the money. Let's go. And at the price point as well, it doesn't make sense. You have to make sense if you're going to talk about these things. It doesn't make any sense to pay that much money for a player that A, isn't homegrown, B, we don't know about adaptation wise, and C, it doesn't, like, I'm sorry, but like the profile doesn't fit. If he's not going to start, why pay that much money? Even with Tammy, and me and George had this discussion, and I was initially quite happy with Tammy because he's a similar profile to Balogun, and I thought maybe we could advance that. But we talked, and I tend to agree with him. I don't think Tammy is the one either. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, Tammy is rubbish, we can't get Tammy because he's at Chelsea and narratives, but Lautaro Martinez is great because he's a 92 rated FIFA card. Like, it doesn't make sense. Let's not do this, people. And that's the last comment I speak on it. I think I want to move on to James Maddison.
A bigger name, and that will always
exactly.
So,
bro, he's won a Copa America. That's it. It's done.
Yeah.
like, come on. It's silly. But yeah, I want to move on to James Maddison because we all want to move on to James Maddison. I really hope that we have some progression on James Maddison now that Ben White is done. I think that's going to be, as George said earlier, the big deal of the window for Arsenal Football Club. And I'll give it to Z. I'll any updates? Anything going on with it, or the bid has been submitted, or what's going on?
I mean, as I mentioned at the start of the pod, the £65 million is still there. That's the fee that we're looking at. I think there's been more developments in the sense that now we've found out that there's this whole Norwich thing where we have to pay. I think they have to pay 30% or something of the purchase clause in terms of the purchase. So that's probably another thing that's going to be kind of a barrier to the deal because they'll be wanting more of the money up front. So we kind of know what they will say yes to. It's just going to be the structure of the deal. I think that's literally what's going to be holding up the deal. It's essentially the same way the Ben White deal happened because we agreed with Brighton. You know, we wanted to pay 50 million from just the get go. It was just how much are we paying up front and how much are we amortizing throughout the years. So we have to see. We have to see, but definitely I feel like he's on the cards. I feel like people lost sight of it because of the whole Odegaard situation. But I personally...
Sorry, Z, why was that an issue? Like, for me, maybe it's because I was away, but Odegaard has already said he's not coming back. Why was that even entertained?
No, because I think he's played in the recent friendly against Rangers and also in training. He doesn't look like he's happy, and then there's rumors coming out from Madrid that he's not settled in well at Madrid and he might be looking to leave. So Arsenal fans are putting 2 and 2 together and saying, you know, Arteta probably has a fetish for someone like that.
I'll tell you what it is, George. A video came out of them in Madrid, them in training, and someone took a shot and everyone went crazy and he was really celebrated. And Odegaard took a shot and everyone kind of just didn't do anything. And they were like, oh my God, he's so unhappy. I can't believe it. He's going to come out. He's going to leave. This is ridiculous. Oh my God. We have a chance. And then it just kind of went crazy.
The amount of ridiculous things like I'm coming back to are just crazy. Look, Odegaard, we've been there. I'm very unpopular for saying that he wouldn't do well for us. It proved right. There's a reason I think that we're moving beyond that. And if we wanted that profile, then us passing on Buendia makes no sense. I'll be honest. So, for me, the Odegaard thing is just laughable. It's not going to happen. And I think the Maddison has an air of inevitability, very similar to the Partey. And like you said, Z, to the Ben White. I really do think we're kind of posturing a bit because we do want other business. And so there is a rate limiting step in terms of that center mid. So we know the fee and we're going to be back and forth for a couple weeks. But I don't know if we pull the trigger necessarily until that is confirmed. I don't know if you feel similar, but it makes no sense for me to negotiate another deal if it's cheaper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think whilst it's it's going to be quite a inventive deal because we have to pay them quite a bit upfront and stuff. I feel like at the start of the window we perhaps didn't realize that we probably have to pay Maddison pay for Maddison up front as much as Leicester wanted. So I feel like that's probably going to be the only hold up to the deal. This is why selling someone like Willock or Eddie Nketiah helps us fund the deal because it essentially helps us slap more money up front and also allows us to focus on the other deals like the central midfield, right back, and goalkeeping position. So that's the way I think it will happen. I feel like definitely if Willock goes, I feel like the Maddison deal will accelerate really, really quickly.
I can't see Willock staying as well, to be honest, given the fact that he hasn't really played in any of our preseason games. I can't see him playing at all.
No, he's only played 20 minutes, 30 minutes in preseason.
Yeah.
That's shocking.
And I bet Ainsley's close to gone. I don't know. I haven't been here, but I would imagine there's been something with Crystal Palace there. I think
apparently there's been some links with him moving to Burnley. I was speaking to Nom last night, and he kind of showed me the links, and it seems like that deal has probably been under the wraps. So it definitely seems like a place that he could go because no other team in the Premier League would want to play him in the central midfield position besides Burnley. So I don't know. It could be a deal that could happen. But definitely, I can't see Ainsley staying either. He's not played much at all.
Yeah, I see personally a Willock, Ainsley, Eddie. I don't know if Laka leaves. I want him to leave, my God. But I think his wage demands will block any deal from really being agreed, and he can leave in a year. So, and that's another thing why the striker thing makes no sense, because I unfortunately think that, he's here to stay, Laka, and I don't like it because I think he blocks Balogun. But
do you see a chance of Aubameyang leaving? I don't know. I can't shake the feeling off my mind. I'm like,
not this season. I think next season. I just don't know why. I think next season he will. I don't think this season he'll leave. Just personally, I don't know if other people.
I think I'm going with how preseason's even gone as well. We've played him with all the players that we want to sell, rather than the ones that we want to keep. So I just don't know. Yeah, I'll be putting him in the shop window and selling Aubameyang. It could be a late deal, and he is one of the only strikers that actually has resale value right now as well. There'll be clubs pouring in for him if they know that he's available. So I don't know.
On the wages that he's on.
To be fair, he won't demand the same wages in any other club for sure. I think we always give these players excessive deals, and they know that at any other club they won't get the same amount.
He's actually on decent wages. He's on what, 200? He's on 200 a week, and for the top strikers, that's pennies. So it's incentivized in terms of putting it up higher on goals, but his base salary is actually quite low. We actually kind of underestimate that. So I think it's not a wage. Look, for me, I've always said Aubameyang's my surprise package of the season. He's going to return back to form, especially when you look at the midfield balance. It doesn't look great in preseason, but I really think that the way that we've played with him this last season has been horrid to his profile and to what he is. I really do think that you see a turn in form in terms of Aubameyang. And look, I don't know if he's really been put in the shop window. I don't believe that personally. I really think this is the order of priority, at least for me. Attacking midfielder, then you need to have a right back, a first starting right back, and then maybe a backup center mid if Xhaka stays. If Xhaka goes, you replace him with a starting center mid. That's what I think our major bit. And, of course, a backup keeper somewhere in there. So I think that's our focus of the window, and anything else is kind of, I don't know, hogwash in my mind. I don't pay attention to other positions.
All right.
But surely,
I want to... Yeah.
No, I was just going to actually. Yeah. I was just going to ask this point. Surely, if we want to bed in someone like Aubameyang on the team, he would be playing in preseason with the players that he should be playing. He should be starting in the league with, right? but we haven't done that so far. I've not seen. He's kept on playing with Nketiah and Willian, so it just doesn't make
Nketiah
sense.
played on the left and last game, and Aubameyang started up top. I think with Oblak, he could leave. I'm not sure if he would, but Laka seems to be more of a leader to all the youngsters we have. So that could be the factor that keeps him here, but I'm not sure Aubameyang leaves next season.
For me, what it is, it's literally preseason. We do this as coaches and as fans. For me, what you do see at Chelsea is probably going to be your starting position. What you see for the first 60 minutes there is going to be very telling about our season, because I think the real preseason starts now, at least from a coaching perspective. So this last 2 weeks, you really focus on positional technique changes, really, for the season, because the last 3 weeks or so are fitness, but combined with maybe new systems, and then you finally really start to coach the final system. What I will say is I got a chance to watch some of the training videos back again, and what I saw with Lukunga, and I just want to highlight, is if you guys look back on those videos, he's challenging Kieran Tierney on one of the training edits, and all the coaches in the background are yelling, "No foul, no foul, no foul." The reason I'm highlighting that passage of play, and I can already see Chris kind of smiling, is that's controlled aggression. That is the definition of what I'm worried he doesn't have. And if you're looking at like little technique changes, you coach those things in the first 3 weeks, right? Those are like broad traits that you coach. In terms of system changes, you don't really do that until maybe 2 weeks before a big match. So I'm really looking forward to Sunday's match with Morrow. I forget when, but I'm
3
sure
p.m. for us.
There you go, 3 p.m. So, yeah, I'm excited for that. And I think we'll learn a lot with Chelsea. I don't know how people are feeling about the season, but we've got a tough start. But I think the season expectation pod will be fun to shoot in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I want to do, before we do go, I want to do two last segments. So one, I want to do transfers around the league, because a couple have gone through that. I just want to get some thoughts on it, and then finally we'll talk about preseason and our final thoughts on preseason. But let's talk about some transfers. I want to give Chris his time to talk about Palace, because I know he's been drooling over some of the signings they've made. So go for it, mate.
Palace, they've got rid of Sacco and Townsend and Van Aanholt have all left, and they've brought in Anderson, Guehi, Elise.
Yeah.
They want to buy Danjuma from Bournemouth, who was actually very good last season in the Championship. And they got Conor Gallagher on loan from Chelsea yesterday, and they're playing right now, and they're winning. So, like, with Palace, for me, it's like getting Vieira straight away was so smart for them, because they're getting players who would never come under most of the other managers they could have got, because all these players that they've signed look at Vieira some sort of idol. So getting Vieira has been a big bargaining chip into getting all these players, because I've looked at some of the interviews all these players have done when they've come in, and you hear them always, they constantly say, "Oh, it's such a privilege to be under Vieira, such a privilege to work with Vieira," and all this stuff. So from getting Vieira straight away, I knew it changed how they do stuff in the market, because normally with Hodgson, he was just getting these guys like MacArthur and Gary Cahill and all these stupid signings, which will never improve them. So I think Palace have done well. United obviously have gone with the big names. Chelsea have made one signing from Fulham.
He looks mental. Have you seen the video of that backup keeper who just dancing around?
Yeah, he's been at Fulham for 10 years. He's been at Fulham for 10 years. And he goes, when in his interview, he goes, "I'm so privileged to go to a bigger club in London." I think the Fulham fans are going to hate him more. But like, it is what it is. He's at Chelsea and he could probably win stuff.
That's crazy, man.
I want to before we do move on to the preseason, I want to talk about this Rafa Varane, because I'm going to get the 50 Cent meme out. ESPN, come outside. ESPN, if you can go a day without talking about our club, without having our names in your mouth, I'll donate whatever amount of money to charity, man. That is the amount of stuff that has come out of their mouth about Varane and Ben White.
the 18 trophies to Ben White's one. When it's like, do they want us to sound like Maldini or go sign Maxwell or something and then say, oh, Maxwell has 37 trophies, Ben Varane? It's just stupid. Like, we don't, that concept of comparing Varane to Ben White over the fee just doesn't mean much to me. And I've said before, I don't think Varane will hit the heights that these people expect him to, because that name and giving him the same amount of money as De Gea, which is like 375,000 a week.
It's a house a week, man.
It's something. United's wage bill is crazy. Like, they just gave Sancho 250. Bruno got an extension, I think. Their backup keeper earns 160 a week. So it's like these guys give a lot of money out to anybody. And Phil Jones doesn't even have a kit number and he earns over 100k. So it's like these guys, when players come, money is a massive factor, which is why they're always, and their name is still big, even though they haven't won anything in 5 years. But like,
you know what it is? Yeah, sorry, before you go, George. You know what it is for me is that I do think they'll do well together, because Maguire is probably, this is Pete Maguire now. I think you've seen that he's established himself in that United defence. He's going to be good this season, and with an established defender next to him like Rafa Varane, even though he is prone to errors at times, I think that they will form an elite partnership. I don't think it's a bad move. I think it's a very good move. But to just compare it to Ben White, who, like, I just think they're completely different profiles. They're not the same sort of defenders. I don't think Rafa Varane is that guy that is going to be leading build-up out of the back. I think that they don't play like that. So I just think that to say that we're just saying, okay, the fee is actually the fee. When you forget to look at the wages, when you forget to look at other things, when you forget to look at, for example, Varane played with probably a top 3 centre-back of our generation. I don't think that's that. Like even, but I'm being conservative because I'm an old man. Like in our generation, definitely a top 3 centre back. So I don't like the sort of revisionism of just, okay, he's just everything. I don't think this is the same Rafa Varane as 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I think this is 2 years ago, I think this is an incredible world-breaking signing. Now, I think it's a very, very, very good signing. I don't think it's a great signing. I think it's very, very good. I'll let George go now, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not the same Varane. We have objective proof of that in the recent times that he's come to England. He's had horror shows against Chelsea in the Champions League.
Jesus owned him.
Yeah, exactly, and against City. So you know what? It's not the same Varane. It's good for United because that's their ethos. I mean, they buy superstar signings, and they do buy names. But I think for me, I would have rather they got Jules Koundé. That would have worried me if they got somebody like that. If they got even Maxence Lacroix from Wolfsburg, that would have shown for me that okay, they're really progressing. But the fact that they got Varane right now, I think it makes sense in the context of maybe their defensive makeup. So Aaron Wan-Bissaka hangs back a little bit deeper, and you got Maguire. So you needed somebody with pace, in quotations. So it makes sense in that regard. But I really think in a 4-3-3, which is what Ollie seems. I'm licking my lips, by the way. He wants to do a 4-3-3, and I'm loving it because he's going to get slaughtered. I'm going to go big on United in terms of hammering them in about a couple weeks, because I really think they're in for a shock of the season for everybody. There's going to be a major fall off there. I really don't like the recruitment. I think Pogba goes. And I think if they're going to be playing a 4-3-3 with even Goretzka, their linked names about who they want in the DM position is making me laugh. Neves, Goretzka as a lone DM. Good luck, mate, especially with Varane right now. I don't know. I think, look, it's a good signing for what they need and what they want to do. But if I'm comparing them with Ben White, for example, isn't this what every Arsenal fan screamed us to do? Don't buy the 28-year-old aging, declining player on the low. Buy the 23-year-old prime player who is Prem proven. I swear this was the argument that every single Arsenal fan was yelling at me about 2 years ago, and then you turn the clocks back, and this is what we're doing in comparison. So yeah, look, For me, Varane, he's a good signing. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's crap. Like, he's a good player. He is. But he definitely isn't the same Varane that he was, 3-4 years ago. It's not 2006 Varane. That would have really scared me. That's kind of Varane. And I don't think
2006 Varane was a child, so
yeah, I know exactly. that would have scared me for other reasons. But no, like I think the thing for me right now is when I look at Varane and what he is, I think he is kind of just that center back that was before his time, but is now maybe peaked early. And I don't mean this as a criticism, but he did play very, very early. And we saw this with kind of your Mesut Ozils and your Wayne Rooney's, like your type of players that have started really quite young at their peak and got their big move very young. I think he went to Real Madrid when he was 19. No? Correct me if I'm wrong.
19, correct, yeah.
And so when I look at that time at the top, I see quite a big downturn. And really, his evidence in England shows it. Like, I don't think Varane was ever a dominant center back. I think they're getting basically a better Lindelof. And for me, that's not what they needed. Yes. And I don't think they ever needed that personally. I actually would have worried if they got Ben White. I'll be honest with you, because when you start looking at somebody like a Maguire who likes to progress play, Varane is going to be a little bit deeper and be the sweeper, right? And I don't think this current version of Varane...
He's too error-prone. He's too error-prone for that.
But I also don't, current mate, I don't think he's that type of center back. Like, unfortunately, like he was ahead of his time, but he was before the era of ball playing center backs truly, right? Like, I think he was one of the first that brought it in. So he was revolutionary in that aspect, right? But the center backs now, in terms of what they need to do in receiving deep and getting into midfield, I don't think Varane ever did that, right? He was much more of a passing center back, but he was a ball carrier. So the last real thing I'll distinguish here is there's a difference between a ball-carrying center back and a ball-playing center back. Okay, a ball-carrying center back solves far more issues, and I think Varane is a ball-playing center back, not a ball-carrying one. And so, if they were to get like a Jules Koundé who can do both, and who oddly I would imagine will be the replacement for Varane, you can just see kind of the difference there. I don't know why Real Madrid, if he is so good, and let's say I'm totally wrong and I'm just being biased. Why is Real Madrid letting one of the best center backs in the world at 28 go? And I don't buy this idea. He just wanted a new project, and that's the reason he's changing. I think he realizes this is his last contract. He realizes he probably may have wanted a new experience in his career, but really he's looking for that last big payday. He's 27. Yeah, he's like, what, 27, turning 28?
He's 28.
He's 28. There you go. So yeah, it's his last big 4-year deal, right? So he's gonna go big. Look, I think he'll do well. He just won't be.
I don't think he'll do amazing. I think it'll be great. I don't think it'll be amazing.
I'll say it right now. I'm not afraid. No. Here, Kern, clip this up, and we'll do it for later. Ben White, by the end of the season, will have had a better season than Raphael Varane. And I'll say it again just so that people can hear it. Ben White will have had a better season by the end of this next season than Raphael Varane. And there will be people that, while they made fun of the £50 million comparison at the beginning, they will see that Ben White was a better investment by the end of the season. We don't need more than that to see it.
I agree.
But he will be good. I don't want to hammer it. He will be good. Yeah. It won't take them up.
You got this, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to clip him up because...
Yeah, don't worry.
I've been clipped up before.
Waj, before we head out with preseason, I want to hear your thoughts on the other signings around the window. And I haven't even mentioned Tottenham, and I'm not going to. So you can...
They're still struggling to complete that Romero deal. They're still arguing over the price. It was like they're trying to get Romero to force his way out of Atalanta. Yeah. Chelsea want Koundé.
Yeah.
But they can't get...
I mean, Chelsea want Koundé, and you've got Grealish about to go to Man City for 100 million.
Yeah.
So that's, for me, I don't know, man. Manchester City are building. Well, they've already built. But I was reading a stat the other day, and I think if Man City buy Grealish, since 2016 when Guardiola took over it at Man City have now spent like 900 odd million, which is absolutely crazy if you think about it. I mean, that's the kind of level that you're having to battle against. So good luck to Arteta with that. But I think it'll be even more crazy if they go and sign Harry Kane on top of that, which I can't see happening. Surely not. But yeah, man. I mean,
Leon Bailey's
those
done.
signings. Leon Bailey. I think this month signings will start kicking into gear. You're going to start seeing daily. There's going to be kind of like progress happening with signings. So fingers crossed, Arsenal get their business done.
Yeah, Villa just spent 60 million on wingers this summer with Wendy are like 33 million, and they just confirmed Bailey for 30 million pounds. So it's like they've already got their Grealish replacements with Grealish going. I think they just done it before he went just to calm down the fans, so that when he eventually does go, the uproar isn't as bad because their fans are already starting to attack him because of
It's in full swing. It's in full swing.
The news came out that he's already agreed personal terms and stuff like that. So the Grealish to City deal was crazy. It's weird that a year Pogba might leave, the record for Pogba is going to be broken.
I'm not going to get too much into the Aston Villa banter because it's pointless. But I will say this: the amount of crap you were giving us for Smith Rowe, the amount of crap. He's not the Grealish replacement. He's not the Grealish replacement, guys. He's not the Grealish replacement. He is someone that's going to work with Grealish, and we're going to be top 4, and you're going to be 12th, and we're all going to be singing, and it's going to be great. We're going back to Europe, and we're going to win a Champions League soon. It was a nice dream. It was cool. It was a nice ride while we were on it. Go back to your project, and we'll see you down the road when we come to Villa Park. Don't worry about it. Just the same thing with Tottenham right now. I mean, I feel like a lot of clubs. I think what I want to say is a lot of clubs are not doing business, and I just feel like it's because this market is so deflated in terms of prices that it's completely a buyer's market, and buyers are trying to weasel their way out of, like, look at the Locatelli to Juventus deal. Like, the teams do not want to pay. Teams have no money. I mean, if you look at the Juventus, Barca, and Madrid statement yesterday about the Super League, they were like, we're still going to progress with the Super League. We're just going to keep asking. We're going to expand what it is, make sure the teams people are on board with it, because no one has any money. People have realized that they've been paying out of world wages for out of world talent and paying out of world fees for these talents. So it's just sad. I mean, we're looking at a market now where, I mean, it's sad for those clubs. It's not sad for us.
Them three clubs like Juve, Barca, and Real Madrid, them not having money is their fault. Barca 100%. And Juve have got all these players, these old players with stupid money, and then complaining about not having money. Like, it's not their own fault to put like Messi on 700k a week. Like, you know in the future that's gonna hurt you. I didn't know what they expected because they buy like 3 players for 100 million plus. So like Barca is the worst of the situation, and they could even confirm their deals like Eric Garcia and Aguero and that because they're over the wage limit. So Barca is just a dumb club, honestly. They're very dumb.
To be honest, I have no sympathy for them at all. I've always hated the way Barcelona, the way they are. They're kind of like, they have no morals. They always. I remember especially the thing that sticks to my head the most is with Fabregas when they won the World Cup and then they made him wear that Barcelona shirt. Really pissed me off. So I have absolutely zero sympathy for those guys.
I don't have sympathy for new Barca at all. It's just that my Cruyff love is clouding my judgment here. I do have a soft spot.
I missed that reference. Correct. I haven't heard it in over a week.
Really loves Cruyff. You guys think
Chelsea my guy, man. So again,
do you think Chelsea will get Koundé?
Koundé, no. I don't know. I don't think so.
They can't they haven't been able to convince Zuma to go to Sevilla because their aim was to do 25 million plus Zuma, and it was looking done, but Zuma now wants to stay in London because West Ham gave some interest.
So surely, why not sell Zuma to West Ham and then use that money to get Kunde?
That's it. Exactly.
I'm not sure. Yeah, look, they can try it.
They'll just reinvest the money.
Yeah.
Oddly, you know what it is? West Ham and Chelsea are both want a center back, but primarily need a striker first. And
Yes.
I think they're very oddly in similar transfer strategies right now. So if you're looking at it, I think there's just news I was seeing on the timeline that, they're willing to accept 30 million for Tammy Abraham now that, Chelsea have kind of lowered their asking price. And I think West Ham do that, but they need money extra for a center back, whether that's, Zuma or whatever. And so I don't know if both of those teams get both positions. And that's the trouble. So I think they'll want a striker. And I'd be worried if I'm a Chelsea fan. I'm not going to lie. Like those big deals in 4 weeks. Look, I know that they have Roman and they can slap money wherever, but those are big deals. Big deals like that, greater than 50 million pounds, are rarely sealed, even if you have the money. You know what I mean? Like it took United 2 years to get Sancho, and they always had the money. But those big deals don't happen easily. So I would be worried. I would be. They have a couple weeks to really solve major issues in the squad, right? And that's why I think when you look back, we've done well to get the business that we've done. I think right now everybody knows our end game, whereas I don't know if many clubs can say the same thing. So what I mean by that is, United, they still have issues with Pogba. Does he go? Does he leave? Do they replace him? How do they do that? Are they changing system? Chelsea, right now, they haven't got the striker that they set out at the beginning of the window with Haaland. And I guarantee you Dortmund aren't idiots. In a week, they will refuse to sell Haaland, period. It doesn't matter if you slap 200 million. They do this, Dortmund. So Chelsea are in a little bit of limbo with their transfer strategy. If you look at, Man City, Grealish, great signing, but how does he fare in that super team? How does he fare with Sterling now no longer going to be operating in the left wing, in the left half space? How does that impact them going forward without a striker? With Gabby, Jesus potentially leaving? I don't know. I think they're great. They're not going to really see the hiccup. But then you move on to Liverpool, and you kind of look at their transfer business, that they're not going to get anybody in. And look, I don't make a lot of issue with the way the Van Dijk has been memed, but what I do look at is they've lost a lot of leadership in that midfield with John and Jordan Henderson no longer being the same guy that he was. And I look at that midfield and I go, that's not the same midfield. And then I look at the front line and I go, that's not the same front line. They're all 28, 29. They're all aging. And by the way, no one makes a huge deal, but I swear I saw something that, Mane, Salah, Van Dijk, and Henderson, aren't they all 2 years left on their contract?
They're all 2 years.
I swear Arsenal were the only ones that do that, right? Anyways, I'm just bitter. But I look at all those teams though, and I don't really look at Spurs because I don't think we need to. But when you look at those big teams, like I said, I really see Arsenal as the only one with the big transfer strategy that's 70% complete. Everybody else is very much up in the air. And so while you may have money, we, of all people, know that, things can happen at the last moment. And so while it could change in 2 weeks, I would actually be worried if I was fans of those other top 6 clubs, because I'm not sure how much they've progressed. I think United have done excellent to make Sancho. He's my dream signing. Everyone knows I wanted him at the left wing, but I worry how they're going to use him. That's a big reason for why I'm worried for them. When they have Marcus Rashford, I can see it right now. They're going to play him right wing with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's not going to overlap. They're going to play 4-3-3, and they're going to play it with Bruno in that right half space. How are you going to facilitate Jadon in that kind of quartet on the right? You're not. Now, if they get smart and they actually put him on the left wing with Shaw, then I'll get worried. But yeah, I don't know if I'm as worried as other Arsenal fans on the transfer strategy, because I see a lot of the major moves done. And our major marquee signing that we really need, like a James Maddison right now, that seems to have an air of inevitability. So I'm not too worried as a whole. I think Palace have probably been my fave second team, if I want to call it, like the Dortmund of the Premier League, right? Where they have a lot of exciting talent, right? Like you start going across that front line. Of course, Paddy, he's always going to have a connection to us. So I hope he does well. I have a fear he won't. I have a fear that they ran into this thing where, how everybody in the transfer market has their second team that hasn't performed. I have a feeling They've recruited really well up top, but not necessarily in midfield, where I think they needed it, Palace. And so
But they're looking at midfielders, though.
They are, but I worry that they haven't recruited the best in that position. So, yeah, I think maybe the only one I'm really interested in right now is Newcastle, because I want them to take Joe. And I think Joe would do well for Newcastle, too, because I think they've got St. Maximin on a death row contract, I think I read as well, which is an interesting one, to say the least. So that's another player I really like and rate. But, yeah, I think, like you said, Waj, things are moving. And I think this month, like I said, the Ben White deal is going to be a marker for the market. And I really think that we're going to start to see kind of things fluctuate around that middle third of the £50 million mark.
Yeah, I mean, I think before we do go, because I do want to quickly just touch on it, is that now we're going to start kicking into preseason, as George mentioned. It's going to be the games we're going to see, lineups that are going to be starting the Premier League season, and I want to see where this preseason takes us. Maddison has not been involved with the squad today in terms of their friendly with QPR. It's apparently for a quote-unquote personal reason. I think it's probably because of his wife's pregnancy. I'm not going to do that to him, but it seems like there is something there. I don't know. Maybe it's just my gut, which is that's just saying. I just think there is something there, and I think that something will manifest from it. The other thing I do want to say before we do go is we're going to be releasing the podcast. Literally, I'm going to press live on the podcast the minute this live stops, which will be in a couple of minutes. The links for everyone's social media will be down in the description, including our guest today in AFC Wednesday as well below. We're going to be doing content on preseason. We're going to be recording a pod tomorrow. I cannot for the life of me remember what it is off the top of my head, but we will figure it out. Don't worry. And just think happy thoughts, people. Don't let the window get you down. Don't let people tell you what to think either. Make sure you don't just listen to me or George or CK with this lovely bandana. There's plenty of people out there. I meant do-rag. Okay, I meant do-rag. Yeah, thank you for everyone for coming on. Appreciate it, and I will see you soon along with everyone else. Peace and love, people.